like to welcome to stage Mr. Wilko Johnson. Can you describe your family when you were growing up? You had a brother, a sister, mum, dad. Can you describe your parents, and do you think you have inherited any characteristics from them?
My father, who I hated him. He was a horrible, ignorant, violent arsehole, and I hated him. Unfortunately, I really take after him, right?
In what way?
I did inherit. There were several kind of genetic things here. I mean, I am left-handed, like he was. I've got this huge hooter. My male pattern baldness. He didn't live long enough to carry it as far as I have, but I got that from him. So he's been dead for more than 50 years now. So there's no point in. It was a typical working class family. My mother was actually a very intelligent and educated woman. Well, I always imagined this occurred in an air raid shelter, right? But sometime during the Second World War, my sister was conceived out of wedlock. My father was married then. They came down to Canvey Island and lived together. I think I was born shortly before they were actually married. My younger brother Malcolm is completely legitimate, and that's just he's a really good bloke. And he actually takes after our mum. I mean, as he gets older, kind of he's got hair and everything, and his hair is white, and yeah, you can really see her face. Unfortunately, like I say, I have to look at that bastard every time I shave.
You developed a kind of interest in English when you were at school, and we have a question actually from Brenda Gilhooly about your interest in English. Is she here? Hello, can you ask your question? Can you remember what it is?
I studied English literature and taught it for a while, and I just wondered who your favourite writers and poets were.
Whoa, dear. I love them all. But I actually, when I was at university, I was there because I like a lot of writers, but I discovered I got a great interest in medieval literature, Middle English stuff, and Anglo-Saxon, and also, believe it or not, Old Icelandic. I mean, when we came into the third year, and you had to choose your subsidiary subjects, and there were various things you could choose. Now, there were lots of soft options, like modern literature or American literature, which is all kind of stuff you've read anyway, so you don't study. But one of the choices was Old Icelandic, and I thought, never in my life will I ever learn Old Icelandic? So I opted for that, and I was the only one. Each week I would go in, and there would be me and Mr. Frankis, and we would sit there kind of reading sagas to each other, and in fact that's. I still love it, I love science fiction and whatnot and everything, but I like a little bit of Anglo-Saxon now and again. Bit of Old Icelandic, Madre het áðan vestfirtha at kuni og fe litil, han farut vestra þar í fjordum. There you go.
Not a clue what that's about. Actually, weirdly, our third question is from Jean Dunn, and this mentions also the Icelandic sagas. Are you here, Jean?
Yeah.
Oh, hello, there you are. Look, you see, she's looked, Icelandic sagas is actually written. But you did have a question about Iceland, didn't you?
What I was going to ask was, in the book it says that after university you planned to go and visit Iceland to see the locations of the sagas, but ended up going to India instead.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask, did you ever manage to make that trip to Iceland?
No, I didn't. No, I did not. And it's funny, actually. I got this recently. Where do I get them from? They seem to be attracted. This really mental woman, right? And she wants to look through my telescope. Yeah, I'll show you my telescope, baby. Anyway, but believe me, she was mad, it all ended rather acrimoniously when I had. I phoned her up to tell her, listen, I've just been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she started screaming at me about how selfish I was because I hadn't phoned her for the last 5 days, and she'd been very, very upset. Anyway, that was the end. But I don't know, just a couple of weeks ago, she sent me a postcard going. Dear Wilko, now you are not going to die. Could we visit Iceland together? You know, and I was thinking, yeah, well, I would love to visit Iceland, but what makes you think I want to go with you? So no, I haven't been there.
It's quite interesting though, because there was definitely a point where it seemed like you were going to go off on a different tip, wasn't there? You went on the Hippie Trail to Kathmandu, to Afghanistan. Obviously good, I can tell by that expression. But then you also became a teacher for a year. How was that?
A vacancy at a local comprehensive school. And on that very same day when she found that job, I was walking down the street through the housing estate, and boom, coming towards me is Lee Brillo. And he came walking along. I was still like a hippie, having long hair, and my clothes were all covered in paint, because at that point I was into being a painter. But Lee came along. Oh man, he looked so mean. He was walking along. He was wearing a 3-piece pinstripe suit. His hair was cut short with sharp sideburns and that. He looks good. I went, hello, mate. And he went, hello. And we started talking. Now, I mean, the reason I'd known him was because before I went to university, I'd had this jug band, which is a skiffle group, really, with my brother. And we used to play on the seafront on Canby Island, you know, and one time Lee and a couple of his friends, we were about 18 then, he was about 14, he was some years younger. Now, I mean, which is an enormous gap when you're a teenager, you know, an 18-year-old or 14-year-old. But I remember both my brother and I were absolutely struck. He had a very powerful personality. I don't know what it was. He was just very eager and you know, and very intelligent. And I remember we'd had this conversation. He was asking us all about this music we were playing. And I remember after we went, I was looking at my brother, oh, blimey, that guy's pretty good. And they went off and formed a jug band of their own, which I used to see when I was home from university. This band of theirs had gradually evolved into a rock band or a rhythm and blues band. And so there we are, we've met on the street, hippie, sharp guy, you know, and we're talking about this, that and the other. And he told me all about his band, and he said that the guitar player had just left. And I'm thinking, I've still got my guitar, you know. And we talked for about, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, and nobody asked the question, nobody said it, and we parted, coming off, we went. I mean, a bit later that day, there's a knock on my door, and it's Sparko, John Sparks, and he goes, "Do you want to join our band?" And I went, "Yes." and that's how it began.
All through this, so you've been to school, you've gone to university, you've gone on the Hippie Trail, you've come back, you've become a teacher, you're about to join Dr. Feelgood, you get married. This is it's quite unusual, is it not? To get married in the middle of all these. It's still quite young.
It wasn't. I mean, actually, I got married while I was at university, and she was Irene, my wife. I had met her. Well, I don't know, we were 16, something like that, and Christ, I loved her. Anyway, we were married, and 11 years ago now, she got cancer and died, and I loved her. She's gone.
Oh. I have another question here. Is Andrew Gatland here? Hello. This is all great. You're so close. This is brilliant. Okay, what's your question?
I wanted to find out about your famous black Telecaster, where you bought it from, and if it's your favourite possession.
Well, I do. I'm not one of these people actually that gets lots of guitars. I mean, I've probably had about maybe 6 or 7 in my life, and 4 or 5 of them were like given to me. I didn't ask for. But anyway, I wanted a Fender Telecaster because Mick Green played a Fender Telecaster, so I wanted a Fender Telecaster. And in the shop window, in the music shop in Southend, was this Telecaster. Now, Fender Telecaster then, the new price was £107. Now, I mean, these things are worth thousands now. You know, these old pre-1965 Telecaster, ask what you like. But anyway, £107. Now, of course, actually, that was way beyond my means. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I think my dad used to earn 12 quid a week as a gas fitter. So you can understand, I couldn't have this Telecaster. So I just used to go and gulp at it. I mean, really, you know, I just loved it. I'd just be looking at it and thinking, oh, and so it went on like that for a while. And then, now, actually, at that moment in time, Telecasters, they were not fashionable. Everybody was using the Gibsons and things like the Beatles used, you know, or the Stones. You know, nobody used a Telecaster. So, and they were having trouble shifting this thing. So they put the price down to £100, and then I think, oh, I've got to get it. And then when I decided, they put it down to 90. And I thought, I've got to have it. Now, my mum would never allow me to have anything on credit. You know, it was out of the question. So I couldn't possibly go and buy it on what we used to call hire purchase. But there it was, 90 quid. So what I did was, I went in the shop, I said, listen, you want to get rid of this thing? Look, I'll put £10 down on it. I had £10. I put £10 down on it. Now, if I come in every week and pay you however much I've earned, and you keep the guitar in the shop, and so we wouldn't have to sign no credit thing, right? But I'll come in and pay every week. And so what was happening was I would save up all my dinner money from school and every little penny I could get. And go into the shop with this payment card, and I go in, and I go, here, it's £3.18 and 6, you know, and they write it down. They bring the Telecaster out from the back room, and I could sit there for the afternoon playing it, and then when the shop shut, I had to give it back, and they took it back, and this was going on for quite a while. Then, suddenly people like Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton were playing Telecasters. And suddenly they were like the thing everyone wanted. And the shop really wanted that thing back in their display window because they were hard to get. You know, you couldn't get them. You couldn't get them anywhere. And they offered me a really expensive Gibson. They said, will you take it? And I said, no. Telecaster. But it was getting a bit embarrassing because time was going by, and there was quite a lot to pay still. And so Irene had a post office savings account. And in the post office savings account was just enough, 60 quid or whatever, to pay off the Telecaster. And so, in great secrecy, because if her dad had found out, he would have kicked me all round behind him. But she drew out all the money from the post office account, and I went in and paid it and walked away with my Telecaster, and I've still got that Telecaster, and I've still got the payments book, and I never did pay her back. Okay?